Oh, hello everyone. Why was Kokomi hated in the first place again? I and the other 53 Kokomi havers know this already, but to the people who didn't know about this, Kokomi at the time was the most controversial and hated character in the Genshin community. Honestly, it was iconic. She was iconic for that. It was her iconic moment, her historical moment. It's in your textbooks. Please read your history books. I wrote them. But why? Why was she so hated in the first place? Well, students and comrades, there are two main reasons and multiple small reasons. These will be the topics for today's class. First reason, Kokomi can't do critical damage. Her passive ability, Flawless Strategy. This sacrifices her crit rate by 100%. Character's crit rate starts out at 5%, so from 5% to negative 95%. This made so many people really mad. Were they rightfully angry? Sounds debatable. If they're rightfully angry, it's because at the time, damage output mainly comes from crit damage, and that comes from landing a critical hit. And the chances of doing a critical hit depends on the crit rate, which is the probability or percentage of landing a critical hit. If the crit rate is at 5%, then there is a 5% chance that one of your moves is going to land a critical hit, thus doing critical damage, which is 50% of your attack stat. The more crit rate you have, the higher your chance on landing a critical hit and therefore doing critical damage, which in turn doing more damage. So, what happens if your crit rate is at negative 95%? Well, you just don't do crit damage because there is no chance of doing crit damage. You know the saying, there is a 0% chance of that happening? Well, we're talking about a negative 95% chance of that happening. It's just never going to happen. Doing crit damage is really important. And if you need to do a lot of damage but couldn't land a critical hit, then Kokomi is not what people need. So Kokomi's biggest controversy is that she can't crit. Or at the very least, she sacrifices crit rate for healing bonus. The reason for that is her passive talent, Song of Pearls, which increases her damage output from healing bonus. This is before Ocean Hued Clam set, by the way. The only way to increase healing bonus is through an artifact main stat, which can only be obtained from one and only one artifact piece, the circlet, or crown, or hit piece, hit gear, cap, hat, or whatever you want to call it. You can't get it from any other artifact piece, nor can you get it as a substat. Why does Flawless Strategy even exist? Here are my guesses. Thematically, it kind of makes sense for Kokomi's character. She's apparently a military tactician, a professional and skilled one at that. She's calculative. She doesn't depend on luck to win wars, hence not relying on crit rate. According to the collected miscellany, Kokomi provides stability, therefore doing consistent damage without relying on critical damage. Doing consistent damage might sound nice, but it gets overshadowed if that one critical hit does more damage than all your attacks. And if you're able to land a lot of critical hits, then you overall do more damage. Story-wise, from the way Flawless Strategy works, makes sense, but it seems like people don't really care about the story if it also hinders her gameplay by decreasing her damage. Another reason it could be is that the game developers wanted to create healing bonus as a stat usable. Every single stat can serve some offensive purpose, even HP and defense stat. For example, Hu Tao's damage comes from HP, whereas Ito's comes from defense. Every single stat can provide damage in some way except for healing bonus. That's what makes Kokomi unique at the time. She's the only one that benefits from healing bonus to increase her damage output. That way, the healing bonus stat isn't completely useless. But according to the community, the amount of damage she gets from sacrificing crit rate for healing bonus doesn't make up for it. Some people argue 25% more healing bonus is too little for such a huge sacrifice. People suggest that Kokomi should get at least 50% more healing bonus instead of 25%. The second main reason is Kokomi is a dedicated healer. People were surprised to know that Kokomi is a healer despite her role as a military strategist in the story. With a title like that, you expect Kokomi to be very complex. High skill floor and high skill ceiling, main damage dealer, kinda like Tartaglia, where every choice you make matters a lot and decides how much damage you make. But no, she is a simple, easy to learn, beginner player friendly healer. And as usual, since Kokomi is a healer, people don't really like it. People don't like healers, even in Genshin Impact. Some even argued if you need healing, you are bad at the game because there's a dodging mechanic and shields. Both helps in gameplay and damage output. Dodging is quick and timed correctly can avoid all damage. I see people completely avoiding huge damage by simply dodging attacks. I could be wrong here, but I think you can get invincibility frames when you dodge at the right time. Besides dodging, there's shields. Shields help not only block damage, but it can also prevent you from getting hit. When you get hit, you waste time from going through an animation where your characters get hit. And if the enemy have a series of attacks back to back, then you waste even more time. Shields helps prevent that, while also letting you attack even while the enemy is still in the middle of attacking, hence increasing your damage output. Dodging or sprinting uses stamina, and shields have several flaws. One of them is shields are not that strong, unless you're Zhongli. Shields at the very least can take one heavy attack. Next is they use resources. Some shields scales from the HP stat or some other stat. So your offensive stats like attack, crit rate, energy recharge, or elemental mastery is replaced with another to increase shield strength. From there, you are sacrificing damage output for shield efficiency, but it's kinda offset with the ability to block damage and ignoring getting hit while continuing attacking. Despite all the flaws, it is still better than healing. There is a negative stigma towards both healers and healing. Having healers means you can't dodge or you're bad at dodging. Healing means you got hit and now you have to repair the damages. It's not a good look. Skill issue. Can't dodge. Get good, as what they say. When you get hit, this is what happens.
Are you stupid? Get out of here! Fuck you! You are alive! I hate you! I don't give a fuck! You are ugly! Fuck off! Shut up! You are killed!
Really? Thank you. I can't guarantee we'll be able to win the second round, but I'll do my best to help. Let's give it our best shot.
Uphill battle!
With all that, healing feels like it just takes unnecessary space. If damage is the main priority, then the ideal team would look something like this. A main DPS, a support or backup DPS, and another support shielder. Adding a healer feels like sacrificing damage. Okay, so those are the two main reasons why people were upset over Kokomi. But don't worry, there is still more reasons to be upset about. One of the other reasons is Kokomi's, well, what they call it, badly designed kit. Not much to say about her normal attacks, but fans have a lot to say about her kit. Both her elemental skill and elemental burst, which is the most important part of the gameplay. Her skill is putting down her jellyfish, Bakekurage. The Bakekurage is fixed to one location, which is seen as a flaw. Why? Because if you compare it to the other 4-star characters, which have better elemental skill mechanics. For example, Fischl can reposition her ugly duck Oz, Guoba can be pushed around to a better location or somewhere else, Cookie's skill follows you around, same thing with Xingchu's swords, Mona, another 5-star Hydro Catalyst, summons a decoy which helps as crowd control by attracting the enemies. Mona is also from the standard banner or from the pity counter. If you really need to reposition the jellyfish, you can use sacrificial fragments, but it's better on a different character. Speaking of a different character, did you know that Kokomi is a 5-star Barbara? Which brings on to my next point. Kokomi is a 5-star Barbara. A lot of people in the community had a popular opinion or popular belief that Kokomi is a 5-star Barbara or even expensive Barbara. You can get Barbara for free and pretty early in the game too, so investing and building Barbara is fairly convenient and a lot of people have done so. Furthermore, if you're investing Barbara, then what would you build Kokomi? Better save those heart-earned wishes for someone else. Because of the many similarities between Barbara and Kokomi, people compare the two, which creates even more discourse. I want to make a separate movie about how Kokomi isn't another Barbara, so I'll save that one for another time. People had a problem with Kokomi's kit. Her skill is in a fixed location, mentioned previously, and now people have a problem with her elemental burst. For starters, it works a lot like Barbara's elemental skill, but worse apparently. People say the fact that Barbara's skill is Kokomi's elemental burst is evidence of how bad Kokomi is. Additionally, melody loop doesn't go away when you switch to another character, unlike Kokomi's elemental burst. Furthermore, additionally, melody loop follows the active character, unlike Kokomi's jellyfish. So people have said Barbara's elemental skill is like a combination of Kokomi's elemental skill and elemental burst. Now, obviously, I don't agree with that statement, but it doesn't matter, nor do they care. There are other reasons people were not happy. People wanted another 4-star Hydro character, but she was another 5-star Hydro Catalyst user, and at the time in the roster of not many Hydro characters, and people compared her with other Hydro characters. Kokomi had to compete, and apparently didn't bring much to the table at the time. She was released at the wrong time. Raiden Shogun was released before Kokomi, and people didn't have enough wishes or didn't want to spend on getting Kokomi. Not to mention Raiden Shogun is one of those must-pull characters. Kokomi's reputation was tarnished by the community, and the community influenced other people to not pull for Kokomi, even harassed others for pulling for Kokomi. It was a really bad time for Kokomi and her comrades, or Kokomi havers. Now, obviously, times have changed. That was like, what, a few years ago, 1 or 2 years ago? Kokomi got so much going on for her now. But I don't know, it was just interesting to see the minds of these people and how they justify their actions. Anyway, there might be a part 2 for this video because there are other things about Kokomi that is worth mentioning. Oh, hello everyone. Thank you for watching my videos. I had to cut it short. There's a lot more I want to talk about Kokomi, but I have to keep the video short because I have a lot of things I need to do. But please let me know what you think of the video. Please let me know what you want me to talk about. Like, is there something I didn't mention? Is there something I'm supposed to mention? Or is there something you want me to talk about, like Kokomi or even Dehya? Like, just let me know your questions or any suggestions in the comment below. Yeah, so thank you again. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you all next time. Okay, bye.